To Kemi Badenoch this morning, the Minister for Women and Equalities. Very warm welcome to you. You are calling today on members of the public to send in what you're calling real-world examples of public bodies and those that advise the public about cases that are confusing when it comes to single-sex spaces. Tell us more.
Yes, so yesterday you would have heard the Health Secretary talk about how she was enshrining single-sex spaces into the NHS constitution because they'd had a lot of issues, people using words that were inappropriate, mixed-sex wards which were also inappropriate for patients. But I've also had many people write to me with examples of public institutions that are not following equality law. They issue guidance that's been written likely by Stonewall, and they issue policy that is not in keeping with the law. So what I said is, well, let's have a look at how big this problem is. To what extent is this an issue? If you have examples of where a public institution, so something that the government can do something about, is not following the law, please send us an example and we'll have a look at it, and if so, try and intervene where possible.
Even if they are following the law, a lot of it's just uncomfortable for a lot of people. I'm sure you will agree. Have you found any instances in your own life which have embarrassed you or made you feel uncomfortable?
Not recently. Certainly when I was much younger, just aggressive men using the women's loos for reasons just to intimidate. And I think that was not really something about single-sex spaces, because it was very clear that was a single-sex space. So, but there will always be people who behave like that, who choose to exploit areas of vulnerability.
But
However,
the thing is, Kemi,
we shouldn't make the problem worse by creating confusion in terms of what people are or are not allowed to do.
But the thing is, it has been created now. That's not official. Men can use women's loos, or they're not called women's. What are they called now?
Gender neutral.
Gender neutral loos, of which we have one here, and I must say, none of us feel particularly comfortable with it. But it's quite the norm in many places.
So this is something that many people don't understand when it can be the norm. You know, in some private places you can do that if you want to. But certainly if you look at, this is not just about loos, by the way. This is about women's refuges. It's about a whole swathe of things. You know, mixed sex wards are not about loos. That's a way of sort of diminishing the issue. And many people don't understand the difference between a gender-neutral loo and a unisex one. So they think they're the same thing. But a unisex loo is like a disabled toilet. There's privacy, you have your own washroom. Anybody of any sex can use it. Yeah. A gender-neutral loo is one where you've got urinals and stalls, and men and women are, doing intimate things in the same space. Quite often, it's actually men who complain that they don't like gender-neutral loos. They don't like having, to expose themselves when women are in the vicinity. We've issued guidance for schools, but if people aren't following the guidance, I would want to know. One of the things that was very interesting when we issued the guidance was lots of schools, some unions and even some Labour MPs saying, oh, you don't have to follow this guidance. So if people aren't following guidance, let us know so that we can take a look at it.
The NHS isn't following guidance. In 2012, the NHS constitution banned mixed-sex wards. It's under Conservative government. Yet it was breached 43,700 times last year, more than double the number reported in 2020. West Streeting is suspicious that actually what you're doing is banging a drum, a little bit of culture wars, there's elections round the corner, local elections tomorrow. If you were serious about this, you'd have done something about this in the last decade.
So this is why the Health Secretary enshrined it. People change the rules. And this is where I talk about the influence of Stonewall over the last 6-7 years. Rules and guidance was changed because you had people giving bad advice. So what happened in 2012 changed since then. We've been in government throughout this time, and we are fixing it where people have been trying to undermine it. But it's very interesting that you say that West Streeting says that. Of course he's going to say that, because Labour have been absolutely terrible on this issue. We're trying to fix a problem. They want it to go away and maybe even bring it back if they ever get their hands on power. I hope that doesn't happen. But I'm doing my job. He doesn't like it because this is an area where the public know that the Conservatives are right on this issue.
You're no stranger to Rwanda and all the issues involved in it. What do you make of this guy on the plane yesterday or whatever? He's paid 3,000 quid, he gets a ticket and he gets a job. in Rwanda. He is a migrant. We believe he's not a boat migrant, but he got into the country illegally. He's refused to stay here. Is this the future? Paying them $3,000 to head off to Rwanda, $3,000 each?
Well, I think we should remember that we're spending £8 million a day on this issue. That is not something that is sustainable. We have to deal with it. People said the Rwanda scheme wouldn't work. They tried to say that it wasn't a safe country. If it wasn't a safe country, we wouldn't have people volunteering to go. This shows that the scheme is working. People go to Rwanda on holiday. I know someone who's gone there on a gap year. We need to actually make sure that this scheme works. And that's what the Prime Minister is focusing on, getting people on those flights and getting them over there. Of course, it costs money, but there is no way to police our borders for free. If you have a way that we can do this without spending any money, I would love to hear it. This, I think, is one of the cheapest and most effective ways, and it's not the only thing we are doing. But the Home Secretary will tell you about all the things they're doing on border policing. This is just one of them. We have a plan. No one else has a plan. They just want to pretend that there is no problem. We do not pretend that there is no problem, and we're doing everything we can to sort it out.
You'll be aware local council elections and a by-election taking place tomorrow. You'll be braced, I'm sure, as many councillors are up and down the country, for a bit of a beating, to put it mildly. Do you think we could see a sort of Humza Yousaf turn of events for your boss, Rishi Sunak, in the next week? Certainly things have been looking fragile for a little while. Reports again in the weekend papers about a big Tory rebellion, plots to overthrow him. Will it ever end? And is he more fragile and uncertain than ever?
First of all, please, can we never compare Humza Yousaf to Rishi Sunak? Rishi Sunak is an extremely clever, capable, hard-working person. Humza Yousaf didn't know, basic things. Just this week or a few days ago, I had to explain to him the difference between the Post Office and Royal Mail. The SNP have run the government of Scotland into the ground.
Okay, but my question was about whether or not Rishi Sunak might be facing a vote of no confidence, which is a realistic possibility.
I don't think that that's going... I don't think that is an issue. I think that people like to talk about it because it's Westminster gossip. This is not an issue. There will, of course, always, under every Prime Minister, be people who complain. But he is out there, he's campaigning, and I think that people like Ben Houchen and Andy Street have done so much that people will look at what they have achieved for their communities, and that's what they will be voting for.
Kemi, he's campaigning. I'm just interested, what are you doing? Where are you at with your life and your professional career?
Well, I'm on GB News.
You're on GB News. What are you doing on GB News? I'm just interested how you're positioning yourself or what the future holds for you.
Well, my most critical priority is to do everything we can to get a Conservative government. I think that it is Conservatives that run this country best and deliver for people. So this morning I am telling our story, and I will be going out campaigning later on. But really, what I want to see is us win an election. It's very difficult after 14 years. There's often a natural fatigue. But there is so much that we have done, and I want to be able to tell that story. The last 5 years have been particularly difficult. We've had several once-in-a-generation events, like COVID, the amount that we had to do to keep the country going. We have a war in Europe. We now have a war in the Middle East. All of those things, I could tell you so much from the international trade perspective, what we're doing around supply chains to make sure that the country continues to function. So I'm doing my job, and I'm working hard for the people of Saffron Walden, my constituency, as well as the UK.
Well, maybe another day we'll have time to do all of that. I'm not asking people to agree with you, but certainly you're always very interesting to listen to, and thank you very much for your time this morning.
Yeah, Kemi Badenoch, Minister for Women and Equalities. Pleasure. Thank you very much.